Hello, my name is Elisa Zarate, and this is my informative speech on Elvis Presley. What can I say about Elvis Presley? He has always been my idol. He has always had a special place in my heart because when I was little, my mother and I used to listen to him together. So I brought a picture. Here's a poster of him in the different eras when he was younger, when he was in the Army, and his latest one here with his signature on there. I wanted to bring the speech to let you know where he came from, how he came to fame, how he worked very hard to get where he got to, and as big as he got. He actually was born in Tupelo, Mississippi. He was one of twin boys, and his brother was actually stillborn. So he ended up being an only child. And because he was an only child, he was also very close to his parents. And they had a very close-knit family. They did everything together. They went to church together, and that's one of the places where he picked up a lot of his love for gospel music. And he actually recorded several gospel songs himself because he loved the music so much. When he was about 10 years old, they moved to Memphis, Tennessee, and he got his first guitar. At that time, he started playing around with music and listening to the different kind of music around him. He was listening to country music, to pop. He was listening to blues. He was listening to gospel music. He went to all the church events that he could go to where there was music involved. He just loved listening to it. In his mind, he was trying to come up with his own kind of sound. He went to high school there. He graduated in Memphis, and that's where he actually got his first award in music. He won the talent show for his senior year. After that, he started working just odd jobs. He still hadn't given up on his dream of becoming a musician. He was trying to just get some work and get some money together, and he ended up recording, making a record for about $4, where it was a studio where anybody could go and just pay $4 and get a record. That song was not very good, so nobody listened to it, nobody really liked it, so he kept trying. He ended up meeting the owner of the studio, and they ended up putting some music together and putting a band together, and they finally came up with a sound, and that's the sound that guy had been looking for. He had been looking for the newest thing, and he found it in Elvis. So he promoted Elvis. He helped them to put him on the radio. He did a lot of local shows, just local little fairs and stuff like that. And he also was invited to the Grand Ole Opry, and because he was considered a country singer at the time, and he was actually not well received. They didn't like his style. They didn't like his music. His sound had a lot of influences from black R&B, country, gospel, kind of a fast beat. So it wasn't anything that was normal back then in the mid-50s. So after that, he didn't let that, disencourage him. He kept on trying. He finally made a record that was well received. It went gold. His very first song went gold. And so then he just started getting different contracts. He got a contract with RCA, started recording more music, started making a few movies, and then in 1958 he was drafted by the Army. So he had to serve 2 years. He went to Germany, and while he was in Germany, he met his future wife, Priscilla, who was a teenager at the time. And once he got done with his tour of duty, he came back home, and he really dug himself into his work, and he was very successful and kept recording and making movies. He started making movies back to back to back, where it just kind of became like just something that eventually bored him. And then the movies started losing their appeal because there was just so many, and the times were changing. This is ending with the 50s, going into the 60s. So in 1969, he had enough. He was dissatisfied with the movies. He didn't want to do it anymore. And he wanted to change into more of a live performance, which he had always done really well, doing live performances. So that's what he started doing. He kind of did a comeback in Vegas. He was very successful there. He got some contracts. He ended up staying a whole month in Vegas. performing live. And after that, he went on doing tours all over the country, and he did television presentations. He was on made history and being on so many radio and television programs that he was doing. And so by this time his health was dwindling, his schedule was really frantic. He had become hooked on drugs from early on. And now he was even hooked on prescription drugs as well because he was having health problems. He became obese. Around that time, close to 1977, his wife also divorced him and took the one daughter that they had. And so he was alone. And one day he was at home in Graceland and he was found dead in his bathroom. He had had a heart attack. He was found by his current girlfriend. But even though he had a tragic end, his life was amazing. His career was amazing, and the